right. Welcome back to the Life Legacy Podcast. Today, I'm honored to bring on another amazing guest. And to me personally, I've actually followed you for a while on social medias, and I love the authenticity of who you are. And I see you as someone as a value builder to the community. And today, we're bringing on Bridger Pennington, and it's just an honor to have you here. So thanks for coming on.
Yeah, it's fun to be here. Let's do it. Let's kick it off.
Yeah. I'll start with a quick, more professional bio to let people understand who you are, what you've been doing, and then I'll give my twist to it. Bridger is the co-founder of Fund Launch, with launching over 300 funds, doing 2.7 billion reported client AUM, which is assets under management. He's got 100,000 students in one of their courses. He's also the co-founder of the Ugly Unicorn, a $20 million blockchain crypto investment fund. He's the co-founder of Fund Launch Partners, a 30 million general partner stake fund, and has sold and exited Blackbridge Holdings, and that's a debt fund that you did. And then, of course, you have your social presence that's been awesome, and I think you're just like a thought leader that adds great value to your audience. And so, yeah, I'm excited to dive in, and I want our audience to know really who you are. Obviously, you're a hustler. Like, when I say that list, I feel like anyone at home that doesn't know you, they're expecting like a 65-year-old or something. And
I got the beard though. The beard gives me a few years, you know. I've been growing it out a little bit, but
But Bridger, what kind of fires you up? Like what's purposeful for you that gets you excited?
this is an interesting question. I started out my career. My first 2 years at BYU, I started 6 different businesses my first years of college.
Dang.
Like, not business ideas, like businesses. Like, we did online marketing. I did a Chinese tutoring business. I went on a mission to Taiwan, spoke Chinese. We did tutoring. I did website building. I wholesaled houses. I did all these different businesses, and I was kind of making money. And it was funny, the question of purpose and mission. My whole goal of school was to make money. I'm like, the reason I am here is to make money.
Interesting.
The reason you get a degree is to get a job, to what? Make money. Then I said, people are always like, that sounds so dumb. Like, you're there to learn. I'm like, well, yeah, but why are you learning? To make money. Well, I'm there to find my passion. Okay. Every passion eventually becomes a job, in my opinion, if you're doing it for money. And so you might as well pick something that makes lots of money. This is my mindset back then. It still kind of is today about school and picking the right vehicle to be in. And I'm like, I'm passionate about skiing. I'm not going to make a career out of skiing. I'm just going to go make a bunch of money, and then I can go ski whenever I want. Like, that was how I, pursue your passions. Okay, I'm going to go make a ton of money so that I can, go ski and go hella ski, whatever the thing is, right, for skiing. That was kind of my mindset. And so it did, I know I had some ups and downs, but did pretty well at BYU. Made some good money. We can dive into that more if you want. And it was, I kind of think of these tiers, like tier number 1, and you hear these big entrepreneurs talk about, like, the mission of our company is to, like, do these incredible, and they're like, I don't care about money anymore. It's all mission. For me, the mission of my companies at the beginning was, like, make Bridger money. Like, that was the mission. Like, that's why we're here. That's why I'm hiring my first employees, so that we can make more money. You know what I mean? As of the last year or so, and I'm talking in context of work.
Yep.
I feel like I've made a decent amount of money, where it's now changed a little bit. And I'm very coin driven in work, because I'm like, if I'm here working every day, like, we better be making money. Like, I'm not running a charity. Yeah, I'm not running a charity. And if I want to run a charity, I'm going to go do something else and actually do a charity. If we're actually trying to make money, like, that's our goal. So, but the mission it's kind of evolved for me in my brain of, I've made a decent amount of money. Now I find a lot of drive in excellence, in personal excellence.
Tell me more about that.
And I'll unpack that for you. Now, this is talking personally. Now, our company's mission is to democratize Wall Street, which I find a lot of purpose in now. I did not find purpose in that years ago, but now it's like, we really want to democratize Wall Street and help make high finance accessible to everybody. This world of private equity, hedge funds, venture capital funds, this is kind of like most people don't even know what those words mean, but they know it's lots of money, and people that are rich run those types of things on Wall Street. We want to make that kind of stuff known to everybody, which is a very cool mission and purpose. And we've had a number of people, so we have a huge group of people that we help launch their funds and stuff. I've had multiple people come to me, like, tears in their eyes, like Bridger, like what you like, this has changed my life. Like crying. Like it changed my life, my kids' lives, my grandkids' lives. Like, cause now they're in this financial space. It's we've whatever our income is done. And like, it's reshaped my community and people around me. Like, thank you so much. And I'm like, I was just a college kid trying to make videos on YouTube, you know, and run a business to make, honestly, to make money. And now it's evolved into like, no, this bigger mission of democratize Wall Street, which is kind of cool. But to unpack, you mentioned, yeah, the excellence thing. I believe it's funny. You see entrepreneurs that exit their companies and sell. We got an offer a few years ago to sell our company for about 25. We had an offer for about 25 million, another offer LOI for 40 million. So kind of somewhere in there. And I was like, that sounds so cool. And then I started interviewing people that like sold their companies. A lot of them get depressed. They sell their company and 12 months later, they're literally like depressed, like on like, you know, suicide watch. Just so interesting.
Why do you think that is?
A lot of purpose and drive goes away. And I think, actually it's funny, on the same day I heard this podcast and I heard a talk from Elder Bednar on the exact same day, and it was both about work. And it's pretty much said the same concepts. And the concept was, go back to Adam and Eve. Like God, the first thing he essentially told them to do was work, go and till the ground, like work this garden. And I think it's part of the human condition to work. Like work is one of the most satisfying things on earth. Like my favorite days on planet Earth, there's fun. Like you're on the beach, like those are fun days, but the most, like my favorite days are when I hit the pillow and I'm just exhausted. And like you've put it out on the line. Like for me, when I look back in my life, those are the days that mean the most to me. And that could be in context of a mission. It could be in context of work. It could be in context of being with my kids and like, you know, just a crazy day. But you hit the pillow and you're like, wow, I gave it my all that day.
Giving life 110%.
Yes, there's something so satisfying about that. Now, so let me define work. So I think it's part of the human condition to work. Humans are meant to work. Take any human. You can see there's tons of studies. You give them tons of money, you give them relaxation, you give them whatever. And in some period of time, they become usually very depressed. Very sad humans. You can look across the board with big wealthy families, generally speaking, the second and third generation lose all the money. They're on drugs. I mean, it actually ruins their life. If you look at lottery winners that won over $10 million, so large lottery winners, this is a crazy stat. So 60% of them in 5 years lose all the money. 70% say their life was better off before they won the lottery. Isn't that wild?
Yeah, it's earth-shattering.
It's crazy.
That's something that everyone strives for. You want financial freedom. I believe money is an amplifier of who you are. But I'm curious to hear why you feel like that is the case.
Well, I do believe it's an amplifier for your heart. And furthermore, people who are given a large lottery have not learned the lessons of what it takes to build wealth and or maintain wealth. People that are, and I'm talking about myself, before I had any, like I was poor, a poor Bridger thought like, oh yeah, give me $100 million. I'd be the, you know, that'd be great. And now that I've actually been in business and made money, I'm like, man, I am not ready. The reason I'm not worth $100 million right now, I'm not ready to handle that much money. And let's say God wanted to give Bridger $100 million. But I believe in a loving God that loves us. That would actually be a disservice to Bridger right now. If you know, and you look at me, and I looked at my life all the time, like, I'm like, how do I build myself into a person who can manage that kind of net worth and not let it corrupt me and my wife and my kids and my grandkids?
It's a responsibility.
It's huge. And I'm like, look no further than all these billionaire families, and the kids are horrible humans. As much as they want to hide it, oh yeah, my kid's good. Yeah, he's doing great. You actually go meet them. Like I've been able to meet, because I raise money for a living. I go meet these families.
Yeah. You're dealing with family offices.
Yes, mostly a lot of family offices. You shake the hands of the kid. These are grown adult kids. A lot of them depressed, sad, drugs. I mean, it's very interesting. And so that family, that was actually a disservice having money. So then, sorry, I'm bringing this all back together.
Oh, you're good.
I went back to myself and said, okay, how do I build Bridger into a person who can handle that amount of money if God in his infinite wisdom wanted to allow me to have that kind of money over me. And money's not everything, but we're talking in context of money right now. And I've thought about that a lot. So that's why I invest a lot into, you know, personal development, coaching programs. How do I get around and train myself into a person who can, and there are some, back to an amplifier, people who are billionaires, or I'm using billionaire as a big term, but wealthy people that do incredibly great work.
Mm.
and their kids are phenomenal humans and their grandkids are also phenomenal. And I'm like, what made them different than the other one? So I'll bring this all back together to close this up, back to work.
Yeah.
I think the human condition is meant to work. Now, let me define work. I think work is a contribution and growth. When you're contributing and you're growing, that's in a sense a work. Now, you can work for money. I personally hope I don't work for money my whole life. I currently am still working for money. I still work like every day. But I think people work on their kids. They work on their relationships. They work on their church. They work on their golf game. They work on their garden. I don't care. Take a human, put them anywhere. The human condition is meant to work. And so for me, I had to rewire my brain for a little bit. I think a lot of humans spend a lot of time trying to avoid work. We do everything and mentally, okay, how do I avoid work? And now I have changed my whole mindset of, no, work is good. I am going to work until the day I die. Now, I'm probably not going to work for money till the day I die, but I'm going to work on something. And there's so much satisfaction in work, and fall in love with the work, fall in love with the process, fall in love with working on your kids, working on your relationship, working on your spiritual health with you and God, working on your business. There is such satisfaction in excellence in life. So back at the beginning, you asked me what was the purpose or mission, what drives me?
Yeah.
Excellence in my work is what fills me up.
Yeah.
And that's a broad definition of work there. And that's how I define it, pull it back together.
I like that. It's Jeff Bezos. I don't know if you've heard. One of their core principles is having pride in the excellence of their work and their operations. And that's something I've actually incorporated in my company. And it's one of the values that we have because, yeah, I think it's really important to have pride in what you do. And have you looked into Arthur Brooks at all? He is a professor that studied like human achievement, life of fulfillment, art of fulfillment. And one of the big parts is it's having faith in something bigger than yourself, family relationships, friend relationships, and then it comes to work. And it's cut into two pieces. One is achieving your life purpose and serving those that you're around. And so that's how I see work a little bit. I think that's awesome.
It's a great definition.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, like having pride in your work, that's what fills you up.
Giving
At least
your
for
all.
me, giving your all. Those are my favorite days on planet Earth is when I've given my all. Like look back at a lot of people serve missions. Like your mission filled you up so much, or maybe it was a work thing or an assignment that was so hard. Like when you talk to these founders, these big companies like a Jeff Bezos, what do they always talk about? Remember that late Saturday night we were up coding, we had pizzas, and we were all building this cool thing.
Yep.
That's the good old days to them. And we actually did that in our company. Like last week, we were up till like 2 a.m. building this new thing. And I'm like, these are the good old days. This is what people look at and are like, remember that? That was so crazy. That was so fun. Like we slept over in the office one night. We worked all night, just slept over. And it was like that's actually working hard is so satisfying. It is so fun. Working on your kids, your spouse relationship. So deciding that I like work, telling myself I like work. I sign up for work. I think it's awesome. I want to work till the day I die. And that mindset has really unlocked a lot for me.
Yeah. I also like, I can just feel and hear your hunger to achieve whatever you want. I think it's very, very it's just visible that you push to your 100% and you bring energy to wherever you go. I respect that a lot.
I tried to. Yeah, I tried to. I was with Tony Robbins about 2 months ago in a private group, about 24 of us. And if you read any Tony Robbins stuff or see him, I mean, he's the master of what he calls state control or energy control. You get in the room with him, he's always like, put yourself in a good state. And by state, he means state of being. You know that state of being when you're full of energy, you're full of excitement. A problem comes up, you just smash it. Like nothing bothers you, right? And this is, I'm quoting Tony Robbins here. And so I've tried to use that in my life. I'm not perfect at all, but I try to find things that put me in a great state. I do little mental triggers. Like you can see right now, I'm putting my hands like this. I watch Donovan Mitchell when he played for the Jazz. Every free throw he did, he still does it to this day. I watched him last night playing for the Cavs. Takes a breath, closes his eyes, and he puts his fingers together like this. Now, I've never talked to Donovan Mitchell, but I assume that's a mental trigger to pull him back to focus. A lot of mentalist coach will tell you to do that. And so when life's crazy, like pretty much every day I drive home from work, I mean, I have crazy days at work, like wild.
I believe it.
I get home and I'm like, okay, it's go time. Like I got to be a great dad for my wife, my kids. I got to walk in this house like with like energy. I literally do a breath. I put my fingers like that and I'm like, it's time to go. And it's like I'm starting my second work day.
Yeah.
And I walk through that door and I try, I'm not perfect, but I try to leave everything in the car. And I'm like, hey, what's up? What's up, kids? Like I pick one up, we're wrestling, we're playing, whatever the thing is. And I try to do that in meetings. Like it's funny. You get out of these in work, like, you have a meeting. It's like our business could blow up in the next 90 days. And here's all the reasons.
Yeah.
And then we close the meeting. I'm like, you're just like freaked out. And then I'm like, I got to go talk to my 4 other employees on this other team that have no clue. And I need them to work hard. And it's like, okay, state control. Like, I'm going to put myself in a beautiful state and I'm going to try to go like make the most of them, And state control, I think, is huge. The one thing that I love, it sounds so dumb and cliche, but like cold plunges.
Yep.
There's all the health benefits and whatever there. You can give a whole podcast on that. But for me, the state changingness of a cold plunge is amazing. If I'm in a bad mood, I get in ruts. Sometimes I get in ruts. Like I get in a depressive state or whatever. Like I've noticed like every 3 months, I kind of just hit like a low.
Yep.
I don't know why. I have no clue why. For like 2 or 3 days, I want to fire everyone in my companies. I just want to like burn it all down. I'm like, screw everything. This sucks. Like I'm just like, and I've learned now. I'm like, okay, whenever I feel that coming on, I'm going to work out. I'm going to go outside, spend some time in some nature, and I'm going to do a cold plunge. And I'm going to do multiple cold plunges if I need to, because it just puts you in a new state. And what I found is in an hour or two, especially after that cold plunge, you're like, it resets your whole body and you're just like, oh, I'm in a beautiful state again. So
going to that hand motion and like making you aware of where you are. There's a book, I think it's called High Performance Habits, that talks about that transitioning and how
who wrote that book? I want to say I've read it.
It sounded like you have.
Anyways, keep going.
I don't know. I don't remember who the author is, but anyways, I do that same thing. It's transitioning where it's like you think, how can I show up as my best version to this next situation? I think it's so powerful too. And then the breath holding and just really being aware of what you want to accomplish in the next setting.
Yeah.
Because someone that's doing as much as you are doing, you have to be able to transition and you have to show up in your best self in one situation. It's going to be so different than next. But
yeah, the transitions are, that's where you need it the most.
Yeah.
Those, and like if you're running a business or whatever, you have tight transitions. It's minute to minute.
Oh,
and people like, at least like I'm the, co-founder of the company. We're not a huge company. We have 60, 70 employees, something like that. But like they still, I remember working for a company and whenever the founder said something, it meant, you know what I mean? It has a different weight. And so I've tried to
shake you.
Yes. And so I've tried to, I'm not perfect at this, but I'm like, I realize if people talk to me or interact with me, like it holds a different weight. Definitely. Even though I don't think it does. I just think I'm a normal person. I just think I'm a normal dude walking around the office, but I'm like, oh yeah, I got to remember like what like people read into every little cue, that you do. So totally. you gotta transition well. You got to show up in a good state. You got to be there. Like you gotta, it's just a little bit of pressure. So you just got to do it all the time. You just got to be always on. Yeah.
We had Andrew Smith on here and he's got like over 50,000 employees across all the companies.
Brands. Oh yeah. Andrew's awesome. Yeah.
And he talks about this because he'll leave a horrific meeting where if he comes out of that meeting and talks with his people and he is showcasing anything negative, like it's going to amplify and 10x. Like if Andrew's feeling negative, then it's like, we have to be concerned. Yes. Like something's really wrong. Yep. Even when it's like normal things that just, there's always going to be hard that's involved.
Yep.
But going back to you and like how you were built, tell us a little bit about your childhood and how was it maybe different than other people's childhood?
Double click on anything you want. I'll go fast and you can go deeper on what stuff. So I grew up in Sandy, Utah. Went to Alta High School. Go Hawks. I'm the youngest of 2 older brothers. And you're probably like, why does it matter? I'll explain briefly. But my dad, I had no clue. We grew up in a normal house. My dad in college, I come to find out he's running a multi-billion-dollar family of real estate funds. And my dad just drove a car with a dent in the door. He'd be a great guy for this podcast too. But they were running at the time an $8 billion family of real estate funds. Come to find out today, they're over $48 billion. This is, if you know Grant Cardone online, that's twice as big as Cardone Capital. And then today they're now 10 times bigger than Cardone Capital. To give you a sense of how big that is. Huge. My dad's now retired and stuff, but we just grew up in a normal household, which was awesome. My brother, we can talk about this more, but passed away, took his own life when I was 15, almost 16 years old. We can dive into that story if you'd like. But so I was the youngest of that, and it really shaped my family and what happened there. So you can double click on whatever you want there.
Yeah.
But entrepreneurship household, my dad, we were up and down always because he started like all these different businesses, but then hit this one business that just crushed. I didn't really know we had money till college. And my dad, though, did such a great job teaching us boys like finance, investments, financial literacy, I guess, as kids, and business acumen as kids. Like always was in the car. Like every time we're in the car, he, no radio, like pinging us on, hey, do you guys know how a mortgage works? Like what even is a mortgage? Do you guys know what a credit score is? Like, no. He's like, let me tell you, like he would just do that, like, and which was so cool. So I got into college and like all these things that I thought were just common knowledge, all my roommates had no clue.
Yeah.
Like what's a credit score? How do you build credit? How do all these different, these are kind of basic financial terms, but I was like, wow, what a gift my dad gave me in going into college.
Going back a little bit, you have this hunger, and it sounded like even when you hit college, you were ready to go. Like, have you always had that hunger and ambition to achieve more than what, a normal person's ceiling would be?
Me and my wife talk about this a lot. Me and my wife grew up on the same street together our whole lives. We lived in Sandy, like I mentioned. It's the demographic we lived in. We lived in a nice area, nothing bad, but we lived right below all the really rich people. So all of our friends were like very, very rich families, huge houses. And we'd always go to their, where there's friends. We go hang out with them, but we lived in kind of the smaller house,
Yeah.
We all went to the same school together though. Come to find out, my dad did this on purpose. When he grew up in North Las Vegas, and his story was like, I grew up in North Las Vegas at the Rancho High School, which is just notoriously just a bad part of town. And very, very low income part of town. And he's like, if you asked my friends what they're going to do when they grew up, none of them were going to go to college. They're like, why would you go to college? Like, I'm going to go be a mechanic. I'm going to go I'm going to go to the police department. I'm going to go, and nothing wrong with those professions, but there wasn't a lot of ambition.
Yeah.
Especially to go to college. Like he's like, none of my friends even considered going to college. And his mindset was most people believe they can do what their mom or dad does for work. Like almost every kid is like,
that's their ceiling.
They're like, I could do what my dad did. And so my dad intentionally is like, I want my kids to go to school with other kids whose parents are lawyers and doctors, successful business people and whatever. And then those kids are going to be like, oh, like one of my best friends growing up, he's like, I'm going to be an anesthesiologist. Like in third grade, he like learned what that word was. He's like, I'm going to be an anesthesiologist. I'm like, what is that? He's like, it's a doctor that makes lots of money. I'm like, wow. He's like, my dad does it. And I'm like, and so then I was like, well, I'm going to do that too. And so for like years, I was like, I'm going to be an anesthesiologist too. Like there's something about your peer group, right? Of having ambition. And so a part of that, like one of my best friend, literally my best friend growing up, his dad was the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. Which was like, and so, you know what I mean?
And for Fortune 500 company, that means they're a publicly traded company and they're the top like 500.
One of the top companies in the world. Yeah. And he was the CEO. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. And so my dad intentionally made us like be with those kids. Now, I think what was unintended was we were kind of in the more, I don't know, it's all relative speaking. We all were in nothing wrong with where we lived. We lived in a great area. Living in the United States is phenomenal. We had running water. We had a roof over our head. Like we lived in a great area. But I always felt like we were poor compared to those other kids. And I was like, I'm going to be one of them. But I was close enough to touch it and feel it. And the reason I bring this up is because it's not unique. Like I don't know, I've had a lot of people tell me like there are so many entrepreneurs that now today run all these incredible businesses that literally grew up in like my neighborhood and like right around my neighborhood. Like a lot of them. I've had people come to me like, dude, why are there so many like crazy business people that grew up right around you? I'm like,
zip code.
I really think it was that same demographic of like mentality that I had was like, I'm close to it. I don't quite have money, but I can see and I can go interview those people. Like I would go interview their parents. What'd you guys do? What'd you do for business? Like, how did you get to where you're at? You know?
Yeah.
And it built me a drive of like, okay, I feel like I could do it. I don't have it yet. And what's the other side of the coin is what's funny is most of the kids that grew up in those nice homes though haven't done much.
Interesting.
They don't have ambition. They didn't do much.
Because
but
they
it
were
was
handed life.
I don't know. For whatever reason, they just haven't. I mean, they've done fine things,
Yeah.
but they're not multimillionaires. They're not running big businesses. They're not doing whatever. If you define success through money, they're not doing it that way.
Yeah.
But all the kids that grew up like, down the hill a little bit, that were kind of, felt like they had an inferiority complex, did a lot better. There's a really interesting book called The Triple Package. Have you heard of this book? It was referenced in General Conference by Elder Christofferson as well. It's called The Triple Package. This book talks about 3 traits of what makes certain cultures and people succeed. They did a whole study on this, on what they believe at least found for people to succeed or not succeed. There was because the basis of the study was, why do, like, for example, Nigerians drastically outperform all of the peers around them on like income stat, all the stuff. Like at the time, if I'm correcting, fact check me here, but I think it was about 10% of Harvard was from Nigeria. And they're like, why Nigeria? Why not why not another African country? Why Nigeria? Cubans, very successful. Iranians, very successful. A lot of Eastern Asian, you've heard of like the Tiger Mom complex, or like Eastern, Asian families that do really, really well. Like, why? So they're trying to answer the question, why do certain demographics, and it was back to, why do Jews and Mormons, or members of the Church of Jesus Christ, why do they perform so well? Like, what is it about this? So they did this whole study around, and they found 3 distinct factors that certain communities and or cultures had that made success. And the 3 are, and Jews and members of the Church of Jesus Christ had all 3. Nigerians had 2 of the 3, Cubans had 2 of the 3, but it was only 2 groups that had all 3. It was Jews and it was members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
You have me on the edge of my seat.
All right, I've teased it enough. The 3 are, number 1, you had a chip on your shoulder. Okay, you were made fun of. This is a lot of immigrants have this. They had a chip on their shoulder. They don't speak the language the right way. That's why Cubans did really well. People that come over the border, whatever it is, Nigerians do very, very well. They have a chip on their shoulder. Okay, second one, delayed gratification. So if you had delayed gratification in your community, you couldn't have sex before a certain age or before your marriage. You couldn't eat or drink certain things. That built a culture of people that could have
just discipline.
Yes, discipline and delayed gratification. Okay. A lot of those groups I just mentioned had both of those, and that's what drove success for them. The last one is unique really to Jews and Mormons, members of the Church of Christ. It is what's called, so you have an inferiority complex, delayed gratification. The last one is superiority complex. They believe they're God's chosen people. They believe they're meant for something more. So what's funny is they have an inferiority complex. They're made fun of. They're kind of a hiss and a byword. They also have delayed gratification. And also, though, they are told you're meant for something more. You're special. We're God's chosen people. We have a higher calling. We have a higher mission here. When you couple those 3 things, they're like, this is why you find Jews and members of the Church of Jesus Christ on Fortune 500 company boards across, like the NASDAQ is filled with them. Wall Street's filled with all these different, why? There's only 15 million, Mormons and 15 million Jews roughly, but they take up like all these companies. It was because of those 3 things, which I thought was pretty significant. So back to demographics. How do you then, if you don't have those or you do have those, how, and then also that's just a cultural thing. How do you make sure that's distilled in your family? Right? How do you make sure that's in your family dynamic? And they found that those 3 things were what drove a lot of success.
Dang. Well, that's something I'm going to be implementing throughout my life. That's amazing. And going to that, you're in the smaller home in the big neighborhood with all of that. But there's a day when you find out that your dad has built something that's worth a lot more than that whole neighborhood probably, like what does that do to you? Or tell me about that interaction. How that happened.
I went to my dad's business partner's house. So I was in college. I'm like trying to hustle. My dad's like, you should go meet with my business partner. This guy can help you out. I'm like, okay. So I go meet with his business partner. His business partner lives in this huge mansion, cars, pool, basketball court, like huge house. And I'm like, dang, my dad drives a car with a dent in the door. Like we did nothing bad, but like we lived in just a normal house. He lived in this huge mansion. And I'm like, so I meet with this guy, we sit down and he starts to tell me about business and stuff. And I ask him, like, how did you get all of this? Like, how'd you do this? He goes, we started investment funds. And we started working private equity and real estate funds. And I'm like, what is that? So he started teaching me about that. And then I'm leaving and I say, hey, can you be my mentor? You know what? Like whatever you need, I'll show up. I'll work for free. I'll be your driver. Just whatever. Just let me be around you and learn for the next 90 days, whatever it was. Right. And he said, go talk to your dad. Your dad knows way more about us than I do. And I'm like, no, my dad's broke. We're poor. You're rich. I want to learn from you. And he goes, sorry to break it to you, but me and your dad make about the same amount of money. And my chin drops to the floor. I was like, huh? And he's like, yeah, me and your dad are pretty much equal business partners. I left the dude's house. I go straight to my dad's house. I'm like, Dad, what the heck? Like, what's going on? Like, why haven't we gone, why can't I order a drink at, Chipotle for the last 10 years? Cause it's too expensive, like we never ordered drinks as kids, like no drinks, like we go to the restaurant or like,
we pay for drinks when water's free.
Yes, water's free. We went on a couple family trips, but really didn't go on many trips. As a family, we just laid low because, that's just my perception of my family. So anyways, I'm post mission, right? And I'm in college. And so my dad starts to teach me about money and funds and taught me about funds. I ended up launching my first fund at 22 years old in college. I pitched my dad for money. My dad says no. And he didn't invest in anything I've ever done until about a month ago. He did his first check ever into our new fund. It's like 9 years later, but he said no.
What a gift.
Yeah. He said, I will teach you how these things work, but I'm not going to give you money. This will be a crutch that you'll never be able to recover from. Said no, which is a great lesson, great gift. Like you just mentioned, very good gift. He says, but I'll teach you how this game works. Right. And so that helped me launch a fund in college, and I launched a second fund in college, and then I ran a unicorn, and then Launch Partners. Right now we manage about $45 million of capital in these two funds, and we're growing right now. We're scaling, we're investing a lot. It's pretty fun.
Dang.
I don't even know what your question was, but I just don't know that story.
No, you did great. It was about
the realization of when I found out my dad. Yeah. So I had hints that I'm like, and by that point it's funny, after we had moved I was out of college, they had moved to a nicer house.
Okay.
They had bought this bigger house. I'm like, okay, they got to be doing somewhat well, but I didn't really know to the degree. And then we really started diving in. There was hints and things like that, but we were starting to dive into like how big and how much and I'm like, Dad, why don't let's go buy some supercars. Like I love cars.
Yeah.
Like, let's buy some. He's like, I don't like cars. I'm like, let's go and do he's like, I don't want to do that.
You can do anything in the world.
Like, let's go buy a beach house. He's like, why? I'll just rent a beach house. I was like, okay, I guess that's a good point. And like, let's buy a plane. He's like, I can just rent a plane. I can just why would I own a plane? I'm like, I guess that's a good point too. Like, it was just funny. We went through all these things. And anyways, smart. my dad's awesome, dude. He's a great dude. Yeah.
How was that with dating? Like, because there's a point when, I don't know, some of that stuff just comes out naturally. I'm just curious what that was like for you, because it sounds like you met your wife on the same street, but there's going to be conversations, and there's obviously generational wealth involved in that circumstance, I would imagine. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but talk me through that.
Well, yeah. So my wife, she knew us our whole life, which is awesome, and well, what I told, and actually what I still believe today, I'm like, I'm not getting any of my dad's money at all. Like, I've told my wife that. And when we were dating, I think we brought that up. I'm like, we're not getting any money. So we got to go make it happen.
Good.
And, which I think is such a gift. And maybe my dad one day will give us money, but I'm like, my dad's 60. Okay. My dad's 61. People that like wait for these inheritances. What, you're going to wait 30 more years? You're going to wait till I'm 60 when he dies, when he's 91 or whatever. Like, really? You're going to not do anything your whole life and just hope that you get this inheritance? Like, that's the dumbest life plan ever. Furthermore, there's so much satisfaction in work, like we talked about earlier. So I have no I'm like, I'm not getting $1. Maybe I'll get $1. Who knows? I have no expectation of getting any money. And if I do, great. It's icing on top. And furthermore, I'm like, I'm not that patient. I want to make money now. I want to have a beautiful life now. I'm not going to wait around for maybe one day I'll get a check, and then he might just give it all to charity at the end of his life. Like, who knows? I don't know. Yeah. And so anyways, that's an honest conversation that still is honest today. I told my wife that. So dating was, I don't know, it's just dating's dating. And
it was normal then.
Yeah, that's not too crazy. I don't know. Dating's pretty normal. The one thing I will say though, dating my wife, we were about to get engaged. We dated, and then she left. I was home for mission. She left me for a mission. Mm-hmm. So I waited for 18. I kind of waited and dated. So I dated while she was gone, but then she came home, And that's a fun, crazy story as well. We both were writing other missionaries. Before that, we started dating. We wrote our missionaries off, and then she left me for a mission. And then, anyways, she comes home from a mission. We are talking about getting married, and I remember sitting outside my parents' house, and I remember asking her this question. I said, like, Lauren, while you've been on your mission, I've started a couple businesses. We're doing pretty well. I was making decent money in college. I was making 6 figures a year running my own company at BYU as a student. I was like, that was one of my goals. I was like, I want to make 6 figures a year in college. And I was just hitting it right then. I was like, Lauren, my business could blow up tomorrow though. Like, are you on for the ride? Like, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. We're going to go. I got big dreams. We're going to go crush it. Like, I think we're going to crush. Yeah, I think we can do this, but are you on for that ride? Are you okay? I remember asking her this question. Are you okay with the risk? And she said, let me think about it. And I said, no worries. She thought about it for about a day or two and then came back and said, yeah, I'm okay with the risk. And she said, with a caveat, make sure I'm included on the risk. Like, make sure I'm involved. I'm communicating. And I said, okay. 100%. You're my best business partner ever. And then we got married, and we've referenced that talk a lot. Like, my wife's always like, I signed up for the risk. I signed up for the volatility of marrying an entrepreneur. And I've stuck pretty true to that. Like, she knows everything about all of my businesses all the time. She knows the ups, the downs, the sideways stuff. Like, we talk about employees. It's
all ingrained.
She knows pretty much everything that's going on.
Some people like that separate, and it sounds like she wants to be involved in as much as everything, right?
Yeah, no, she's not in the day to day, but like I'm also a terrible liar. Like, I'm honestly I try to prank my wife sometimes, and like I did it last week. I was like, I think we had got, what was it? I was gonna surprise her about something, and I was like, yeah, nothing's going on. And she's like, you're lying. Like, what's going on? I'm like, nothing's going on. Like, I don't know. And she's like, I'm like, okay, fine, I'll tell you the surprise. So I gave her the surprise, but. So I just know if I'm having a bad, like, I tell her what's going on. I'm like, oh, this thing just happened. We just lost this. Like, this guy just quit. And she's like, well, she likes to be involved and talk through it, which I think is awesome. I love it. I love her being involved because it's like a huge piece of my life. It'd be weird to not have your spouse involved with like pretty much one of the biggest pieces of my life that I think about for 8 or 9 hours a day fully. It'd be weird to not have your spouse somewhat included on that. And I would think the same for her,
So out of everyone in the world, why did you marry your wife?
My wife is a one of a kind unicorn. And I've known her since she was 8 years old. We grew up on the same street, 7 doors down. We went to high school together. I drove her to high school every morning. I was a senior. She was a sophomore. We did student government together. So I was student body president. She was like the sophomore class, and then she became the senior class president. So we did student, and we both played sports. So like, anyways, number one, her family is phenomenal. Like, my wife, and I know all of them because I grew up with them. They are like, number one, they're like beautiful people. They're just beautiful humans. They all have they're all ripped. They're all like awesome humans. They all serve missions, and they all they were like the coolest kids in school. And I went to school with them. Like, they're my wife's family, like my in-laws, like literally all of them were like the coolest kids in school. Like, all of her sisters and her got asked to like 4 or 5 proms a year from all the neighboring schools. Like, the boys would go ask them to, like, because they were like the girls, like they were like the team. So, but with that, they were my mother-in-law is so amazing at this. She like sent her kids on missions. She's a hairdresser, my mother-in-law. So she always got all the details of what's going on, because she has all these ladies in her studio. So she always knew who was struggling at the high school or at the middle school. And she would send her kid, who was the most popular kid at school. Okay, you got to go help little Timmy over here. And little Timmy needs, okay, we got to get him a girl to ask him to the dance. And we got to get this happen. And her kids, she snapped them. She's like, you have been given so much. You better go help those kids. And these are my in-laws I'm talking about. Like, and I watched them do it. I was with them in school. They, would go serve and help and bless kids in public ways and private ways. It was really cool to watch. And so, that's the first thing. That's my in-laws. So I was like, first off, and she did that like crazy. My wife is so cool. Second off, me and my wife we hit it off so well. Like when we first started actually, so after my mission, we knew each other, but we never had dated. I get home, we start dating, and you just click with somebody. Like we're the same vibe, like on everything, which was so fun. You know how people say opposites attract? Like that's not us. We are the same personality, same energy. Like we are just like, a lot of people told us like we were like the boy girl version of each other. It felt like, which is cool. So we like that a lot. But I'll just say this, the last thing, this is way too long. I could talk about my wife forever, but she left on her mission. Okay. And when she was leaving, a lot of people told her, oh, if you leave, like Bridger's going to get married. Like Bridger, and this is what other people told her, but we're like, Bridger has all these girls that like him. And I don't want to my own horn, but come on. I was, a lot of girls like me. Come on. No, I'm just kidding. But she's like, they're like, like there's a bunch of girls that want to date him. Like he's going to be gone in 18 months. And my wife's response was this. She's like, if Bridger can find somebody better than me, he should marry him. Good luck. And she told me the same thing. She's like, yeah, go date whoever you want. You're not going to find anybody better than me. And if you do find someone better than me, go marry him. But I feel like I'm your best. I'm the best. And I was like, dang, that's like a lot of confidence, which is awesome. And she left, and I literally dated every person I wanted to date. Like I dated like every ethnicity of girl. I dated tall girls, blonde girls, like short girls. I dated like I probably went on 2 to 3 dates a week. Most of the time she was gone for 18 months. Now I never like got in a relationship with anybody, but I went on first, second, third dates like a lot. And I was trying to really play that like I'm going to date a lot of girls and see what happens. And no one even came close to Lauren. Like in that 18 months, like no one, and some people are like, I'm just going to wait for my girl, which is fine. For me, I was like, that was the best thing ever. Cause she came home, and I'll tell you a caveat story, but she came home though. And I was like, this is the best girl on earth. Like, and I've dated every possible girl I can find, and no one comes close to her. That's how I felt. And so I was like, and even to this day, I'm like I have no, like, I don't know. Some people like doubt their marriage or like, oh, I should have, coulda, woulda, I'm like, I have none of that, dude. Cause I literally dated every possible girl possible. And like, not even close. Like my wife is the best woman on earth for me. So one side story I'll tell you. Yeah. 6 months to go when she was coming home, she sent me an email and like wrote me off. Now I took it as being right off. She said like, God wants me to like sacrifice writing you and focus and like, and she's like, I still love you. I still want to marry you. But like, I need to like, we're not going to write the final 6 months. I took that as she's breaking up with me. And so, but I was like, you know what? She's coming home in 6 months. I knew like 4 or 5 boys that wanted to date her when she came, and they were like studs. Like these kids are studs. Yeah. And like, they were all like, hey, when's Lauren getting home? I'm like, I'm not telling. Like, I don't, they were all like, and I'd see them at the gym, like they're all working out. I'm like, oh, frick. So those last 6 months, dude, I went at it, bro. I was down to 6.5% body fat. I hit a new PR bench press. I bought a new car that was like pimped out. I was in the best physical condition of my entire life. I was, my business was running. I had a 4.0 GPA. Like I had like everything going.
You're on top.
I was like, if she doesn't choose me when she gets home, it's not because I didn't try. Like I had everything dialed. And I was like, I'm going to be the perfect human by the time she gets home. And then she came home and I was worried all these other boys, because they were all showed up at her homecoming. They were trying to, but she was like, no, I want to marry Bridger, and it worked out for us.
Dang. Well, sounds like the dream team.
It's pretty fun. My wife's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of dreams, what have been some of like the dreams that you've had that you were like, as soon as I achieve this, like these are big milestones in your life. What have been the most fulfilling dreams that you've achieved? And then what have been some that you thought would be way more fulfilling than they actually are?
That's a good question. I've had a lot. I'll couple this all down. After my mission, got into college. I built what I called a blueprint for my life. And I also built a vision board. If you read the book, The Secret, it talks about vision boards. I'm a big believer. This is actually crazy. We're doing this interview today. I set a vision board for 2025. This was 9 years ago. 2025 felt like forever. This is like saying 2035. By 2035, I was going to do X, Y, and Z. And I built a vision board out. So now it's 2025. This was 10 years ago. And on that vision board, I had all these things. I want to be married. I had a picture of myself as a 3-year-old kid. And then I had a picture of a baby on there and all these other things. And it was by the time I turned 30. And literally every single thing has come true on that vision board. Like detail. I wanted to speak in front of 1,000-person audience. I wanted to be a speaker. I was like, that'd be a crazy dream. I'm gonna be a speaker one day, you know? And like I've done a lot of, like, we just threw, our last event was 2,000 people in Miami for our own event. Like it wasn't somebody else's event, it was my event. They came to hear us. Like how
So
cool is that? We
sweet.
had another one was 1,800 people, another one that was like 1,200 people. I was like, that one got hit. Like, and then we had all these other, like we wanted to buy a car for this person. Like, we did all these things. And the last one, I had a certain, I was like, and the person that told me, he's like, build a vision board with everything. What kind of car do you want to drive? What kind of house? What kind of relationship? What kind of, like, you know, relationship with Christ you want to have? And I built this whole vision board, like every part of my life. And I turned 30 next month. And the last one was to buy that car I just pulled up in. I won't say what car it is, but it's my dream car. I just bought it. And I was like, wow, dude. It's I'm a big believer in visualization, vision boards. If you strive for something, you generally get it. I'm a big believer in that. Most humans just don't strive for something. They're too confused on what they actually want. And they don't set clear visions for their life. That's my experience.
That's so cool.
Anyways,
No,
the original question was like things that are fulfilling or not fulfilling. So of that, we
Yeah.
had a bunch of different milestones. Getting married, obviously that was a goal for, I was like, I think most people are like, I want to get married one day. And like getting married, that was very fulfilling and like worth it and like so awesome. You know what I mean? Very, very worth it, worthwhile goal. A lot of money ones. I don't know. Some people are like, I made all this money or I bought that thing and it didn't, you know, it wasn't as it was chalked up to be, which I think is true in some cases, but also not true too. Like it's freaking awesome to like have a big day. Like, you know, I remember in college, we did a launch of a product. We did $144,000 in 3 days on this launch.
No way.
And I remember showing up to school on Monday and I was a TA for an entrepreneurship class and my professor was like an entrepreneur and I showed him. I was like, dude, I'm like, we just did this over the weekend. And he's like, is that real? And I'm like, dude, it's real. And he's like, how much is net? And I'm like, 122,000. He's like, what? He's
Come
like, that's
teach
amazing.
this
I'm like,
class.
I know, this is awesome. And I'm like, it actually was freaking awesome, dude. So I don't know. Some people really talk down things. I don't know. I think those have been really fulfilling. I think a lot of things back to like empty ones. Actually, I'll say this is I'm just giving you raw data here, bro.
Go for it.
This sounds horrible. I'll just self-deprecate, but having a child, because I have 2 kids. Our first kid was born, and like, you know, and the birth was amazing. Like crazy. I have a son now. Like I'm holding this baby. Like there was all the feels of that. But I'm talking like a week later.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, this like is not so like, and my wife was so fulfilled having a baby, you know, and I'm like, this is just service. Like I felt like
serving.
I felt like I was just service mode for like a year. Like not very fulfilling. People are like, oh, it's so great being a dad. Like I love being a dad. And I'm like, okay, like I hope so. Like if I'm being honest, I was like that first year, I was like, I don't know. There's nothing fulfilling about being a dad. Like, but I'm like, no, I'm going to build my family and whatever. Then my kid turned about 18 months old. And then it was like, oh,
this is whatever.
This is so fun. Like me and Jonah like wrestle and we go play. And now he's 3.5. We go play in the yard. Like it is the most fulfilling thing ever. Like I'm like, oh, being a dad is awesome. Like now I get what people say. But honestly, that 1.5 years, dude, I honestly was like, everyone lied. Like people lied to me. Like this is not fulfilling at all. And then I realized like, oh, okay. I think at least for me as a dad, like 18 months I could play with him. We could throw a ball around. We could do fun, like take him in the truck with me. We'd go to the store. Like that was, anyways. So asking questions on things that were fulfilling, not fulfilling. I don't know. Those are maybe some different answers than what you'll normally get.
I was going to say, I've never heard that, but I think that will actually resonate with more people than you would expect. I don't have kids, so I don't have the empathy of the scenario, but I know it's also so much work and it's hard. There's a lot of heart, and from what I've heard is, you kind of become a slave to your new child. And so I think it's more relatable. Just, I don't think people have the huevos to talk about that.
Yeah.
And so that's cool. And, Yeah, I'm definitely still very excited for that time. And
And it is awesome. Let me say for you listening,
yeah, yeah.
it's funny when I don't know, getting married, having kids, having your second kid, and now maybe we'll be on our third here. I don't know whenever, but people, the naysayers love to come naysaying
Mm.
on pretty much everything.
Tell me about that.
When you are, well, if you're married, everyone asks, when are you having kids? When the kids come? And then you get pregnant. And everyone's like, oh, your life's going to end. Your life's over. Say goodbye to all the fun you had. And everyone, like all the naysayers that told you to get pregnant are now like, oh, your life's about to change. It sucks. Oh, man. And then you have a kid. And it's, you have a kid. And everyone's like, oh, congrats, Wait till you have two. Wait till you have two. Life's going to suck when you have two. I think, and I'll do another example. College. Like I went to BYU. Tons of people told me how hard BYU was. Did you go to school?
Yeah.
Where'd you go?
I kind of traveled all around, but I ended up at Ensign College.
Mm-hmm.
I went to BYU, and I went to Western Governors.
Okay, so you bounced around a little bit.
Yeah.
So
I took the route of I really wanted my focal point was never the degree. My focal point was to go in depth learning on the things that would be applicable to my life. And so my first year
Me too, bro.
Yeah, let's go. And so I went into like entrepreneurship and it's like, well, that's not a general. Like, what are you doing? Like, you should be doing your generals right now. I'm like, generally, I don't care. I'm going to be doing entrepreneurship, marketing. Like,
dude,
but,
I didn't take any generals. My first 2 years at BYU. I took real estate class, entrepreneurship, finance, account. I took all classes that I thought were useful.
Yep.
And my counselor, same thing. They're like, you're like a freshman on paper. Like, what have you been doing? I'm like, I've been learning, dude. This is awesome. This is the greatest school ever, dude. I'm learning so much. And they're like, hey, you need to. So then I actually enrolled at UVU at the same time as being at BYU and did all my generals at UVU. Civ, American Heritage, and they transfer one for one. So I got easy A's at UVU and then transferred them. So I had a good GPA and I did all my core class at BYU. Anyways, and then I dropped out of BYU. So I'm a dropout. But I'll bring this back to the naysayers love to come naysaying. Got into BYU, everyone's like, oh, BYU's so hard. It's so tough. But I did it. People say it's about a mission. Oh, mission sucks, dude. It's so hard. And it's like, but I did it. People love to talk down things that they have done because it gives them a superiority complex over somebody, I think. They don't recognize they're doing it. But it's like, oh, having 2 kids sucks because we have 3. So I'm telling you how hard it is. And by default, but I did it. So that shows that I'm really good at doing hard things. Or mission, man, the mission was so hard, dude. Good luck, man. It's going to suck, dude. Like, oh, get ready. But I did it. I did a mission. So like, and I think the unintended consequences of that is it really hurts the expectation of someone going into something. And I've been very conscious to tell people like the exact opposite.
Love that.
Like someone's getting ready for going on a mission. Like actually one of my favorite mental frames where there was a kid older than me that went on a mission and he was kind of just an idiot, I thought. And he was on a mission and I was like, every day that he's on a mission, I can be on a mission. Cause like, if he's doing it, I can do it, like like you flip it, you go, well, if you guys have 2 kids, well, it should be easy for me. Cause like, I'm stronger than you guys. Like, you know what I mean? You gotta mentally rewire your brain. Cause the naysayers love to come naysaying and tell you how hard everything is. When in reality, yeah, things are hard, but life is meant to do work, to do hard work. And that's great. And that's actually so fulfilling and it's so awesome. And guess what? If they figured it out, probably you can too. There's about 30,000 kids at BYU right now. You're going to be just fine. If they can do it, you can do it. Like, have some confidence and don't let the naysayers come naysaying. And entrepreneurship is the same way. Oh, entrepreneurship sucks. It's so hard. It's like, yeah, but so like, I don't know, 20,000 other people have also done this and been successful. So like, what makes me different? I got 2 arms and 2 legs and I got a brain. Like I can figure it out. And
I believe anything valuable in life comes with sacrifice and hardship and even like added trials. But that's where the gold is. And to reach where you want to go, you're going to fail, you're going to stumble. But those, like you kind of talked about it, those late nights, those moments where you're really pushing yourself in the hard, there's a lot of beauty there that people.
That's what's fun.
Yeah.
And I think I'm so passionate about this because in middle school, almost did not try out for the high school like the football team. I was a pretty good, decent football player. At least I thought I was, like in little league and stuff, and I was doing well. And I literally was not going to try out for the high school team because all the kids that were, I was in 8th grade. All the 9th graders said, they're like, man, dude, high school football is so hard. We got to run and we got to lift and like, it's so tiring. We're going to go camp. And they woke us up at 2 a.m. We had to go run. And I was like, I don't want to do that. And they really talked me out of it, even though I was a good athlete. And thankfully, I got my patriarchal blessing. And when I was 15 years old, and in it, there was just one line that said, like, feel confidence in your desires to succeed in the athletic field. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to go try. And like, boom, I like made the team. I had a pretty good high school career. I started my junior and senior year of varsity at a 5A school. It was the largest school in the state at the time. Like, did pretty well. I started on the baseball team. I played lacrosse. Like, I did extremely well. Played varsity. Like, it was so fun. I'm so happy I played high school sports. And now I didn't play college. I'm not that great of an athlete. But like, I look back, I'm like, those stupid sophomores that almost talked me out of one of the funnest things in my life because it was so hard. And the same thing happens with missions. The same thing happens with marriage. Same thing happens with going to school. Same thing happens with kids. The naysayers love to come naysaying and tell you how hard it is, but they did it and they conquered. And I'm like, I think it's you have to rewire your brain to say, I can do it too.
Yeah. I like the part of that where it seems like God infiltrated your world and your life and gave you the extra boost that helped you do something hard. What has that been like? What role has God played throughout your successes, through your hardships? Talk to me a little bit about that.
I love this question. I can't. We haven't even got to this point yet. God has been incredibly pivotal in my life. I am very grateful. I 2 days ago, I was in my car just sobbing because of how grateful I was to God for how he's guided and directed my life. And I'm no one special. I'm just little old Bridger. And for whatever reason, God's helped me a lot. Let me give you a few examples. I was in college, just had gotten married. This is like my second, third year of college. We get married, we do an internship. So part of the BYU Marriott School, they all want you to get internships. You go on that internship and you get a job offer at the end so that you can be placed when you're going into your senior year, and then you graduate with a job. And that's kind of what I was doing. So I got this internship in Silicon Valley at this huge place, this corporate finance job. They they flew us out there. It was awesome. Paid internship for the full summer. So we moved to California. Okay. We just had gotten married, and I'm planning, I then get into my program. At the time I wanted to be in the finance program at BYU. I got into IS and finance, and like I'd worked really hard to do that and had to get good grades. And at the time it was a hard program to get into and whatever. And at least I thought so. Anyways, at the end of the internship, we get a job offer, 6 figures a year, signing bonus. Like you did it. Like, this is awesome. Like, I got the job, you know?
You made it.
I'm like, okay, we're going to move to Silicon Valley next year. We'll work, and it's next door to Facebook and Google. Like, we're right down in the tech center. Like, it was pretty cool, actually. So we're sitting there, me and my wife, and like, hey, we're planning on moving home. I'm going to go into the junior core at BYU, and then we're going to rent a house. And we decide to kneel down and pray. And we fast and pray. And me and my wife wanted to pray over decisions, right? Like you do. And we do this thing. I try to make it as easy as possible for God to give me an answer. God tells us to think through it in our own mind, right? Furthermore, when I try to ask God questions and make it as easy as possible to give me an answer. He could send an angel, sure. But can he just give me a feeling in one way? And I'm going to pick usually 2 options. And I'm not going to say, like, who should I marry? Like, that would be a broad question. It'd be very hard to answer that question. Yeah. But if I said, should I marry, Susan or Carol? Whatever. Those are old lady names I just threw out. Susan and Carol. Okay. It's a little bit easier to give you an answer when you've done that. Right. So, anyways, we prayed over these things, and me and my wife both prayed together. And we do an open dialogue when we pray. We'll pray and say, God, like, the first one, should we accept this job offer? Yes. And I think there's a lot of power in asking the negative. Moroni asks us if the Book of Mormon is not true. Joseph Smith had a lot of that. He asked in the negative, I think, is something interesting as well. So I'll ask, like, This is just what we do, at least. I don't know. You can do whatever you want, but should we accept the job offer? And then we'll listen for like a minute. And then we ask, should we not accept the job offer? And we kind of feel that out for a minute. And then we go back. Should we accept the job offer? Should we not accept the job offer? And we spend about a minute on each one, 30 seconds to a minute. We just listen, just feeling. And I'm trying to compare the feelings. And sometimes there's no feeling. But a lot of times there is a strong feeling towards one or the other, yes or a no. And that's, at least this is what me and my wife have done. So we'll think through it all. Sometimes we'll fast and we'll kneel down together and pray vocally out loud. I think there's a lot of power in praying out loud. The DNC talks about that a lot. So we pray through these things. And we had 4 big things. Job offer was the first one. Next one, should we rent or should we like try to look and buy a house? Should we go to the junior core for like finance, or I asked, what should I do? The answers that came back were all opposite of what we wanted. Answer number 1, and we were both separately, like we were all aligned on all of these. Answer number 1, don't take the job offer. Turn the job, because they need an answer like by that Friday or whatever. Turn the job down. It's like, wow. And I'm like, did you feel that? She's like, yeah, we got to turn that job down. I'm like, okay. And I've tried to train myself. God doesn't always speak to me, but when God does, I'm going to listen. And I've also made a rule, if I'm going to ask God a yes or a no, I've got to be ready for the answer, and I will act on the answer no matter what. And because if I don't act on the answer, maybe God won't tell me next time. I've got to train and learn the language of the Spirit and actually respond. And so before I pray, I'm like, okay, God tells us no. I already have the email drafted. I'm sending them an email that says and so we did. We sent a no offer. We said, we're not accepting it. We're just going on faith because we both felt it strong. Second one, we felt like we should buy a house. This was the peak of the market. Like, houses were so expensive. It was not the right time to buy a house. But we just it was like, you should buy a house. We're like, okay. And so we started looking, and we found that we walked through the house once and we bought the first house we looked at. And we just felt good about it. We prayed over it again. We felt good. We bought it. It was in Vineyard, Utah, right down the street from here. Third one, turn down your program at BYU. Don't enter the junior core. And then coupling with that, you should start, I'd started a podcast at the time. You should go and work on this thing called Investment Fund Secrets. Isn't that crazy? This is all in one prayer that we did back and forth together. This is 2019, I think. So we said, if God's going to speak to us, we're going to follow. So we followed all these. Let me tell you the down road effects. I didn't join my program. My professor called me. He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. I just don't feel right about it. Job offers. He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I just can't take the job. I'm so sorry. We start this Investment Fund Secrets thing. The podcast grows. We launched that product in November. Takes off. That $144,000 launch was a few months later. We did $2.5 million in sales over the next 18 months. Just like, boom, just took off. Right. The house we bought the peak, right? And this is 2019. We thought it was the peak. That house appreciated $500,000 in 4 or 5 years.
What'd you buy it at? I'm just curious.
We bought a house in Vineyard, $504,000. Today it's worth $850,000, $900,000.
It's beautiful.
Crazy.
Yep.
But we thought it was the peak. I'm not joking. Yeah. Like, it was the peak, right? And rates, we got a 2.6% rate, which we thought was like, at the time, like, we might go lower because it was COVID. It was right around nearing COVID time. It was like, isn't that's funny looking back. You're like, oh my gosh, but not even joking. In the moment, it was so scary.
Totally.
It was like, rates are low, so prices are high. And we're gonna rate, and then we just said, God told us to do this. We're gonna do it. And we look back at like that shaped our life. And me and my wife have done that so many times since, that we feel like we've been guided and directed and pushed. Now, not always. God does not always speak to me, but we try to make it as easy as possible to like, okay, give us a yes. We're going to listen in prayer, like actually communicate with God. And can I share one more story?
Definitely.
On the same note, fast forward a few years. I can't remember the age. I'm like 25 years old. 24, 25. I get invited to go to this guy's office. I go up to his office. This guy is twice my age, incredibly wealthy dude, has a private jet, has a Rolls Royce, a Lambo, like very successful dude. He sits me down, says, Bridger, I want you to be business partners with me. I have this whole portfolio. I have about a $100 million portfolio. I want to give you roughly 30% equity. and I want you to help us develop these funds because I'm the fund guy. Help us do these funds, and like we're gonna scale this thing. Dream come true, right? Like this is, I was like, this is what I've worked for. Like, oh my gosh, this is like the big moment. I come home, I tell my wife, I'm like, dude, like this is amazing. Like we're gonna partner with this guy. I'm like, honey, I'm so excited. I'm like, holy crap. I'm like, we gotta pray about this. We pray about it, and the answer is we do the same thing. Yes, no. The answer is no, a hard no. Do not partner with this guy. No reason, no rationale. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, again, if I'm gonna pray and ask and I get an answer, I will follow. I've tried to train myself. I will follow. And the next day, I think I called the guy and I said, hey, I just don't feel right about it. I can't take the job. And he's like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm like, I know it's a dream come true. I know, but I just don't feel right about it. I'm sorry. He goes, fine, good luck, man. You're kind of like you're dead to me, kind of a, vibe. Yeah. And I was like, all right, whatever. So fast forward 3 weeks later, I get another phone call from a guy. I go to his office building. We go to this, beautiful office up in the skyrise, pretty much the same pitch. $100 million fund he wants to build. This guy's very successful, twice my age. I'm like, holy crap. I'm like, that's why we said no to the first one, because the second one's so good, right? So I'm like, oh my gosh, then now I know why. I come home, we pray about it. Guess what the answer is? No. So in 3 weeks, I've had 2 life-changing opportunities. Both answers are no. And I'm like, okay. Again, if God tells me, I'm going to follow. So I call the guy up. I'm like, hey, I don't feel good about it. Same thing. And then I just go live my life. Nothing comes of it. So I'm running my business. We're doing other stuff. I end up running another fund later with a different partner, and just we're going on. Okay. Year goes by, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. Nothing happens until about a year ago. The second guy comes out. He was running allegedly about a $500 million Ponzi scheme.
My gosh.
Huge. All these investors lost it, like crazy thing. That first guy got, and then about 6 months later, the other guy got, the FBI stormed his office. He's indicted, like another big, fraudulent. They've been stealing money like crazy. Both those guys 5 years ago pitched me to be partners with them. I wanted to be partners with them. God told me no. I mean, that's a career ending thing. If I was involved with that, that's career ending. And I remember that night, like I said the most grateful prayer I've ever said in my entire life. Like, thank you, God, so much for steering us away from that. And we've had, those are 2 stories. We've had countless stories, me and my wife, about getting pregnant, decisions for our family, moving. Like, I think God cares about the details of the details of the details of your life. We had Elder Wong come to our mission, and he shared that multiple. He said, God cares about the details of the details of the details of your life. And he goes, because everything's a ripple effect. Where you live matters because of who your neighbors are, how you interact with them. Like, the ripple effects of every decision you make are massive. And how would God not care about the details of your life? And I believe in a loving God that cares about all of us and truly loves his children and is not here to punish us. He really wants what's best for us. And back to the beginning, what's best for you might not be giving you $20 million because you're not ready to handle it. It might actually destroy your life if God gave you $20 million. And so what is best for you? I believe God is innately working towards our good always. When you read the scriptures, it's so interesting how many chances God gives us and people. If you study the second coming or the first coming, he gave us so many chances and chances. If you read the Book of Mormon, the Nephites, he gives them so many chances to repent. And even they hear the voice in heaven. It goes 3 days darkness. And then it's the end of that year. If you read that scripture carefully, it says that happened at the beginning of the year. It's then like 9 months later, then he appears. They have 9 months to repent and then travel to Bountiful to go to the temple. Like, God gives us ample chances. I think when we die, we're gonna look back and go, wow, I can't believe how involved God was in my life, and I didn't even notice it. I didn't even recognize it. I didn't even try. I didn't even notice. I didn't even ask. I didn't even reach out. And we're gonna fall at his feet in gratitude of how, and we were the problem. We were the ones that couldn't get out of our own way. He gave us every chance possible That's what I think is going to happen.
I think your stories, your actions behind your stories, just showcases who you are and why you've gotten to where you've gotten. And I think you've paid a high respect and honor to God in helping you make those decisions, which obviously some of those literally would have crippled your whole career. Um, but the whole time I was just imagining that photo of Jesus where it's got like small teddy bear in front and behind him is a giant one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we can create that teddy bear, and you can work really hard to create that dream that you have, and at any moment he can take it with the opportunity to give you something way bigger and more important than you could ever imagine.
But I'll say this again. I think most people don't know what they want.
Mm.
I think God wants to give his children good gifts. If you ask for a fish, he's not going to give you a stone. I just think most people aren't asking for a fish or don't even know what a fish is to them. You know what I mean?
How do you feel like people could get clear on that?
Well, this comes back to just, I, you know, well, ask yourself this question. What do I actually want? What do I actually want? What do I, not what I say? Yeah, I want money. Okay. Do you really want money though? What does money mean? What does that even do for you? Is that going to ruin your life? And like, furthermore, like, I just want to be married. Okay. Like, well, to who and to what and how and when and, and what type and marriage is kind of interesting because you have another person in that involved. And so there's some different variables there, but back to like just you, if an angel, let's just take this, if an angel was watching you every day, would they know exactly what you want? Let's say you have an ancestor that's died and they're assigned to follow you around, but they don't know your thoughts. They don't know your heart at all. They just get to watch and observe and hear what you're saying. Would they know what you're going after? And if the answer is not a distinct yes, then it's probably a no. I think there's like, now that's an example. I don't know if that's true or not. I have no idea if that's true or not, but like,
I think it's
writing down goals, praying out loud. Like there's actually a lot to like, take Alma 29 talks about, we're just going church doctrine here.
Go for it.
Why not, dude?
Yeah.
Alma 29 is Alma at the beginning. I'm going to paraphrase, but he goes, "Oh, if I had the wish of an angel that I could spread the gospel to everybody and fly over and just preach." But then he says this, he goes, "I sin in my wish. Why should I wish for something that God, hasn't granted me yet? I should be content with the lot in life I've been given." And then he follows up, he goes, "And I know," and I'm going to paraphrase, but essentially God gives people exactly what they desire, unto life and unto salvation, or unto destruction and damnation. God gives you exactly what you want. He says it right now in 29. And he goes, "I know God decrees these decrees that are unalterable, unto life or unto destruction, according to the desires of the people." What do you actually desire? And how do your actions back up what you actually desire? Again, I like the analogy if someone was just observing, if a Netflix film crew was following you around and said, "What is Jackson?" And the question was, what does Jackson actually desire? That would be interesting.
Yeah.
What would the audience come up with? I have a couple friends right now that tell me they want to get married really bad. "Oh, dude, yeah, that'd be my one goal." And back to, let's take the marriage example. "I want to be married so bad." I'm like, okay, like, so let's just go through the analogy, the same question. My one buddy hasn't been on a date in 2 months. Has plenty of girls that want to go out with him. He could, like, "Nah, she's not the right fit. She's not the right one. I don't, he'll look at her Instagram. Nah, like, I don't." I'm like, what if her roommate is the right one? What if her friend's the right one? What if you don't know the ripple effects. Like, I don't, if someone followed you around, would the actions show, are you going on 3 or 4 dates a week with different girls from different points? Like, what actions are following up your desires? Is that really your desire, or is your desire to have, anyways, I could go on and on about this. I think there's a lot to be said. Jacob 2, I just read it this morning, talking about money. I'm going to paraphrase again, but, he says, seek first the kingdom of God, right? And if you desire riches, God will grant you riches for the purpose of blessing the sick and blessing the poor and healing all these other people. Back to your desire. God wants to give good gifts. If you ask for a fish, he's not going to give you a stone. But make sure you're asking for a fish and show by your desires that you actually want a fish. So I'll leave that.
I love it, man.
That's my philosophy on part of life. We'll see if that changes over the next few decades. But for me, that's, I don't know, that's how I derive a lot of things.
I think it's a lens of abundance and the reality that you have a heavenly Father and a God that is willing to give you the life that you want and desire. And with your world and everything that you want, say it's like one of your last days, what is the legacy that you want Bridger Pennington to be remembered for?
Well, it's a good question. In that whole context, it's a fun question to ask yourself. Like, what do you actually desire? It's easy to say like outward goals or things, but like when you come back to it, I think a lot of people would say, I want to do God's will. And I want to serve and bless and help people around me, and what's a righteous desire versus an unrighteous desire? It's an interesting question. I'm not perfect at that at all. And, me and my wife talk about this a lot of how do we share. And I'm kind of in this mode right now of like, I've been in this money making mode, like business. And like, I do think about business a lot, but I've tried to set like a timestamp on that. And, I think I'm getting pretty close to that timestamp where I, might shift to a different mode. And, I want to, hopefully serve and bless and do God's will in another way. Now it's what's funny. And I don't know, I'll just speak out loud here, but you look at, I'm talking church stuff here, but callings in a church or whatever, or like really all a calling in a church is just a better way to minister to people. It's just ministering in a different capacity. I have 2 brother-in-laws that right now that travel with the apostles and film with them and do all the videography with them. It's really cool. They're just ministering. That's all they're doing. I mean, there's a little bit more than they're doing than just ministering, but really like the core function
Serving
is, ministering to those that are around you. Bishops, maybe they have a lot of duties and stuff, but like the main thing is to minister to a congregation, right? And so I don't need a calling to do that. I can go minister to people around me. And if I have, I'm going to use whatever I've been given to do that. And go back to Alma, that was his wish, to preach the gospel and be a ministering angel, you know what I mean? And if I've been given maybe gifts of whatever, I'm going to use those gifts to help minister to others, and other people in different ways will minister in different ways. And so, that's one way to look at it. I look at everything under the lens of, I try to at least under the lens of ministering. I don't know. That's like the ultimate, like even, and I think I try to minister a lot in business. People, whoever you work for, like impacts your life a lot. Have you ever heard people like, I had a terrible boss and it ruined my life, and I had a great boss and it changed my life? I'm like, okay, man, can I be one of those great bosses? People work for me. They look up to me because I pay them to look up to me. You know what I mean? Like they get a paycheck from me. So can I influence their life or their family? Or I don't know. There's a lot that happens at work, and it doesn't have to be just at home or whatever. Like you have capacity in everything that you're doing all day, every day. There's an opportunity. And so I don't know. Sorry, I'm talking. You're getting me on these. I like these questions, dude. They're good. The last question though you asked me was legacy. I think the greatest success in life. People talk about success and money and prestige or whatever. I think the greatest success, the biggest flex, people that flex online with whatever they got, their watch or whatever is cool. I think the biggest flex of all time is if you have a family, number one, but you have compounded generationally amazing family. I've only met a few people in my life that have this. It's a grandma, grandpa. Their kids are awesome. Great humans doing cool stuff. And they have great grandkids that are doing amazing things. And sometimes even great grandkids. You ever met a family like this? I know a couple. My in-laws are this way. My wife's grandpa, like they have 60 people in their little family tree, like I just described. Of the 60,
just all powerhouse.
Oh my gosh, they're incredible humans. Like we go to like the family, whatever, like everyone has 6-packs, dude. I'm like, I gotta be like in shape, like everyone's like serving of the 60 people. I think there's been like 1 or 2 divorces. Like they're doing cool things. They're launching businesses. They're helping people. They're ministering. They're giving stuff away. Like, and it's not because of money. I don't know if they have that. Like, it's just a normal amount of money, but it's like they're just unique, amazing humans. What I think it's the biggest flex of all time in this life, at least. Number one, you can't do it alone. You have to do it with somebody else. You have to have a spouse that's committed to, and furthermore, you can't do it in like a year or two, or even 5 years, or even 10 years. It takes like 30, 40, 50 years
It's a life.
to get that,
Yeah.
which is like, it's awesome. And you can't buy it either. So you can't buy it. You can't even speed it up, and you have to do it with somebody else. I think it's the biggest flex in this life that you can have is an amazing multi-generational family. And me and my wife talk about, like, let's try to build that. Let's see. And again, there's lots of different situations. There's a lot of different caveats, but I'm talking the ideal, the actual ideal. Like, I think that's the biggest flex on earth.
I love that. It's powerful to make generational wealth, and not talking in a monetary way, but like a wealthy life within a lot of people. And I want to hit on a couple more things, but I know we have a tight schedule.
That's
So
what we're doing.
I would say we'll wrap up, and maybe we'll do a part 2 at some point. But Bridger, you're phenomenal. I think you're super well spoken. Your discipline and your hunger, it's just very obvious. And I think for those at home, like, Bridger is a good person to get to know better, like understand and check out his social medias. Where can they find you at?
Bridger_Pennington, pretty much on all social medias. Find the verified accounts, because we have like fake accounts out there, people that like do scam accounts. But Bridger Pennington, Fund Launch is our company. We try to put out mostly fund content, like investment funds and stuff. But I like to pepper in a lot of church stuff in there too.
Yeah,
God stuff, because I think it's important. It's funny. I'll share a last story. I was in front of 2,000 people at our event last year, and it's all business, a business conference. We're talking business. And I got up and I just said, hey, I essentially shared my testimony on stage of, like, I just think more people need God in their life. COVID especially, like, exposed like how dependent we are on a higher power. I was like, I don't care who you are. Like, I believe more people in 2024, at the time it was 2024, need God in their life. And I shared like a story or two about God's impact on my life. And I got a standing ovation. I was middle of my talk. I was just still going. Standing ovation. People like brought the roof down. And I was like, this is a business conference in Miami. It was in Miami, of all places.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I think there's a revival. There's more people that are finding God and finding, and for the people listening, it's like, I have a flavor, obviously, of how I see the world a little bit. And if you don't like that, you don't like that. But that's one way to see the world. And I'll just say this: I'm working on it. I'm trying to be better. I try to improve. I try to change and become better. And I try to recognize, though, how fragile our world is too. And me and my wife have built a good life together, and we also are very apparent how quickly it could be taken away. That's for anybody. How quickly everything can be taken away from you by a pierce of God's eye. And to be also okay with that. Also okay that God, in his infinite mercy and wisdom, and there's times and seasons for everything. There's times of harvest, and there's times of famine, and there's times of, and so if you're in if you're in a time of famine right now, it's okay to know that. And there's other times of harvest, and to recognize the season that you're in. And if for me, I just try to be straight with God and follow him, and I know it's going to work out. And I truly believe God will give us good gifts. God wants to bless his children. God wants to help us. So I'll end with people.
Yeah. I think the invitation for those at home is, like, get really clear on what you desire in your life, and then act as if those are the things that you desire, and show up every day working on those things, and God will help you bring that to fruition. And I think you showcased an authenticity that's really cool, and just honored to have you on. And everyone at home, whatever you're going through, know where you're at, and know that you have resources that want to help you, and reach out if there's ever anything that you guys need or want. And if we can be a resource, I know personally I will love to try and make your life a little bit better. And nothing but love for those at home. And Bridger, it's been a complete honor. So thank you for coming on the podcast, and it's been great to have you.
Thank you.
Okay.